Welcome to Walls on Wire. Today we're talking about Singapore's coordinating Minister for National Security and Minister for Home Affairs, Shanmugam's public declaration that a major Malaysian political party attempted to interfere in Singapore's electoral process. So, yeah, this is a pretty significant development, really. A very senior Singaporean minister calling out the Malaysian Islamic Party, Parti Islam Se-Malaysia, or PAS by name.
Oh, absolutely. And not just a casual mention. This was a formal public accusation of trying to meddle in their election. That's crossing a serious line in international relations.
Right. It feels like more than just a standard diplomatic issue. We're talking national security, sovereignty.
Exactly. And for Singapore, maybe even more fundamentally, it touches on the stability of their whole multiracial, multi-religious society. That's kind of their bedrock.
So when a government says a foreign group is using race and religion to interfere,
it rings massive alarm bells. Yeah. It's seen as a direct threat to their social contract. That's why going public like this is such a big deal. Usually this stuff stays behind closed doors, doesn't it?
it does. So the question is, why now? Why name names publicly? What was Minister Shanmugam's rationale for, well, escalating it like this?
Well, he didn't just talk about the present incident. He explicitly brought history into it. He invoked the 1964 racial riots.
Wow, 1964. That's a really potent reference in Singapore, isn't it? A very dark period.
Incredibly potent. It's like their ultimate nightmare scenario of social breakdown. For Singaporeans, it's not just history. It's a living memory of what happens when things go wrong.
And he mentioned extremist elements, the ultras, in that context. Can you maybe unpack that term for us?
Sure. Ultras, in that historical context, refers to, well, hardline extremists from different groups who are actively fanning the flames of racial tension, deliberately inciting conflict.
Trying to tear society apart, basically.
Precisely, leading directly to violence, deaths, real trauma. So when Shanmugam brings up the ultras in 1964, he's drawing a direct line.
Okay, so the argument is what the Malaysian Islamic Party allegedly did now, well, maybe not physical violence, tapped into that same dangerous vein, using race and religion to divide.
That's the connection he made. He argued that history necessitated making this public now, the open support given by PAS leaders to certain candidates, specifically using race and religion, that echoed the dangers of the past.
So, just to be clear for you listening, the problem wasn't just any support, but the basis of that support, race and religion, which Singapore sees as undermining its secular integrated model.
Exactly right. And making it public, that's also a powerful domestic signal. It tells everyone in Singapore, voters, other parties, this is unacceptable. This threatens our foundation.
Forces them to choose sides in a way.
In a way, yes. It forces domestic players to clarify where they stand on foreign interference, especially this kind of interference. It's smart politics, domestically speaking.
Okay, so that's the historical backdrop and the political thinking. But what actually happened? What were the specific actions Shanmugam pointed to as evidence?
He laid out two specific incidents from April, public incidents.
Okay. What was the first one?
The first involved the Selangor youth chief of the Malaysian Islamic Party, a guy named Sukri. He shared a social media post.
What kind of post?
It was originally written by a former Singaporean citizen, and it basically alleged that several Muslim members of parliament in Singapore weren't doing enough for the Muslim community.
That sounds like an internal debate, maybe.
It could be. But when a senior figure from a major foreign political party, one that governs states in Malaysia, shares and amplifies that specific criticism,
it changes the game. It makes it look like external validation of that critique based on religion.
Exactly. It adds foreign weight to an internal sensitive issue. That was the first point.
And the second incident, you said it was even more direct.
Yes. The treasurer of the Malaysian Islamic Party is Iskandar. He apparently expressed very direct public support for a specific candidate from the Workers' Party in Singapore.
So not just commentary, but actual endorsement of a specific candidate during an election period.
Right. A high-ranking official from a major party in a neighboring country telling people effectively who to consider voting for, or at least lending support to one side.
And Singapore's reaction was quick.
Immediate. Both the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Elections Department came out publicly. They accused the PAS leader straight up, attempting to influence the election, potentially harming racial and religious harmony. They didn't mince words.
But let me push back a little here. Couldn't someone argue this is, well, an overreaction? It's a couple of officials posting online, not like official state policy from Malaysia.
That's a fair point to raise, and it probably highlights the different sensitivities. From Singapore's perspective, because their entire system is built on managing race and religion very carefully within a secular framework.
Any interference on those grounds is seen as destabilizing.
inherently destabilizing. It's not just political noise to them. It's an ideological attack on their core principles. The moment a foreign party encourages voting based on religious identity, it challenges decades of their nation-building efforts.
Okay, that makes sense. And that brings us to the wider clash of ideas here, doesn't it? Because Shanmugam didn't just stop at the specific actions.
No, he broadened it significantly. He threw down a challenge, really, about the Malaysian Islamic Party's fundamental view of Singapore.
What was the challenge?
He demanded that all political parties in Singapore must reject foreign influence attempts, especially those based on race or religion. It was a warning internally as much as externally.
And he went further, questioning their motives.
He did. He asked openly, does the Malaysian Islamic Party actually care about Singaporeans' welfare when they endorse someone? Or, more pointedly, do they even approve of Singapore's whole multiracial, multi-religious way of life?
That's a very direct accusation about fundamental values.
It is, and he backed it up by citing past statements. He mentioned something the president of the Malaysian Islamic Party said in 2024.
What was that statement?
The PAS president apparently claimed that Lee Kuan Yew's strategy, Singapore's founding fathers' strategy of using candidates from different races, particularly through the Group Representation Constituency or GRC system.
The system that ensures minority representation in constituencies.
The claim was that this system actually weakened the political influence of Malays in Singapore.
Okay, let's unpack that. Claiming the GRC system weakens Malay influence. What's the underlying message there?
Well, it's a fundamental critique of Singapore's governance model, isn't it? The system is designed specifically for multiracial representation. To say it weakens one group suggests a preference for a system based more on communal political power rather than integrated national representation.
So Singapore sees this not as just accidental meddling, but as driven by an ideology that's fundamentally at odds with their own state structure.
That's certainly how Shanmugam framed it. It elevates the dispute from just election interference to a clash of basic political philosophies in the region.
Which makes the public naming even more significant. It forces the issue out into the open.
Precisely. It becomes a very public defense of Singapore's core principles against an alternative model being implicitly or sometimes explicitly promoted nearby.
Now, faced with such strong words, the Malaysian Islamic Party must have responded, right?
They did. They issued an official statement.
And what was their line?
A strong rejection. They accused Singapore's Ministry of Home Affairs of, quote, demonizing them. They denied any attempt to interfere in Singapore's internal politics.
How did they explain the comments then?
They tried to frame it more as, expressing brotherly concern or support for the Muslim community generally, not as trying to sway an election outcome.
But Singapore didn't let it rest there.
No. The Ministry of Home Affairs came back again. They issued another response saying the Malaysian Islamic Party's denial was contradictory. They essentially doubled down on their original accusations.
So the dispute is definitely ongoing. No resolution there.
Doesn't seem like it. It remains a clear point of friction.
This whole situation really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Given the history Shanmugam brought up in 1964, and these direct accusations about using race and religion across borders, what do you think is the biggest takeaway here? What are the implications when foreign parties start commenting on another country's candidates based on these really sensitive lines?
Well, the immediate takeaway is how fragile things can be. It shows how easily those old anxieties about race and religion, those historical fault lines, can be reopened and, frankly, exploited across borders in Southeast Asia.
It highlights a vulnerability.
Definitely, a vulnerability in the whole regional setup. Domestic politics in one country can spill over and genuinely shake the foundations of a neighbor, especially when these identity issues are involved.
Which really puts Minister Shanmugam's very public, very stark warning into perspective. It underscores just how sensitive that mix of race, religion, and politics is in this region, and how current events can instantly ignite those historical fears.
And looking ahead, maybe the critical question isn't just, can foreign comments influence elections anymore in our connected world? They probably can to some extent. The deeper question might be, can political leaders, can parties actually keep their own core ideologies separate when dealing with neighbors who operate differently?
You mean, can they genuinely respect a different system next door, even if it conflicts with their own beliefs?
Exactly. Or will there always be that temptation, that ideological push to comment, to influence, maybe even to undermine a neighboring system that doesn't align with their own worldview? That feels like the ongoing challenge for stability here.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.